In this video, I'm going to uncover which food is healthier, rice or wheat. Now recently I did a video on whether or not bread was healthy, and I also did a video on whether or not rice was healthy, and a major burning question came out of both of them, and that is rice healthier than wheat? And so that's what we're going to really break down in this video. We're going to talk about white rice versus white bread. We're also going to talk about wheat bread versus brown rice. We're going to break it all down, and at the end of this video, what I'll do is I'll teach you about the healthiest options for both of them, and then of course throughout this video I'll give you my unbiased opinion as to what I would choose all the way through as we go through this. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community. That way I can help you excel your health and your life. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Let's talk about which is healthier. Now, when we look at white rice versus white bread, we're just going to talk about traditional white rice, traditional white bread. I know there's going to be variations between which brand makes the bread, that kind of thing, but just your traditional white bread. Let's start with the white rice though. First of all, when we look at white rice, it's going to be stripped of the bran and germ, okay? So as a result of being stripped of the bran and germ, it essentially is going to have a lack of vitamins and minerals. So there's not going to be much nutritional quality to speak of in white rice, okay? The other thing that we're going to look at when we see white rice is it has a glycemic index that's fairly high, okay? So 73 here. Now, white rice is something that is considered healthier by most people, right? When we look at people who are feeding their kids food, right? We got rice crackers, we got rice cakes, we got rice cereal for kids. And many adults are also making the rice switch too. They're eating more of rice flours, and, you know, like I said, it's perceived to be a healthier option in the health community, but when we look at, you know, the real statistics behind it, it's not much healthier. Now let's go ahead and talk about white bread, okay? So we're dealing with a bread here that is bleached, it lacks vitamins and minerals, and when we look at white bread, there's just not much going on as well. It has a glycemic of 75, so we're slightly higher than the rice here, and then of course it has gluten, which is something that many people react really negatively to. And so looking at white bread, not much to offer for you. Looking at white rice, not much to offer. Now the other thing about them is that they are both linked to diabetes and obesity. So diabetes type 2 and obesity is basically, there's many studies out there that find if you consume a lot of white bread, you consume a lot of white rice, you are more likely to have this issue. The other thing I want to mention about them is because white bread and white rice are so stripped down and there's nothing really in there to react to, many people who have immune conditions typically will find they do better with like a white bread over a wheat bread, just simply because there's hardly any reactants in it. And so that's something that many people find. If you ever have somebody who has an immune condition, they say, well, I don't do well with wheat bread, the quote unquote healthier bread, but I do better with the unhealthier bread, the white bread, then essentially there's a good chance it's just because it's stripped down, there's not much there, there's not many reactants. Let's go ahead and move on to brown rice versus wheat bread, okay? Once again, when we take white rice and white bread, these are considered the healthier alternatives. Let's talk about brown rice first. So it contains vitamins and minerals. So when we look at brown rice, it has the fiber-rich bran in it, okay? Because it has the bran, the germ in it, essentially what you're going to find is it has some vitamins and minerals. It actually has a somewhat decent nutritional quality to it. It also is going to have that fiber in it. So remember that white rice is really going to have that fiber stripped from it. The brown rice has the fiber in it, so it's going to help stabilize your blood sugar a little bit. Now I'm just talking a little bit as you're eating it. Now, it has a glycemic index of 68. It also has high arsenic, okay? This is where the other shoe drops, okay? You thought we were heading down a healthier path here, but one of the things that you have with brown rice is that because it has the bran in it, it has high arsenic in it. Now, arsenic is considered one of the most toxic substances on earth. It's right up there on the list and is not good for us to consume. The brown rice has a lot of arsenic in it because the arsenic's in the bran, which it contains, versus the white rice, which does not. And then it also is because it's grown in a very saturated ground, a very wet environment. So it gets a lot of arsenic in it, and that is not healthy for us by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a big problem for brown rice. Now, the other thing here is it has phytic acid, which is considered an anti-nutrient. Stick around to the end of the video because I'll teach you how to get rid of that. Now let's go ahead and talk about wheat bread. Now, wheat bread is going to have some vitamins and minerals over the white bread, and I stress some here because it's not much. When we look at white bread and wheat bread, the nutritional content is nearly the same. A lot of people think that they're doing themselves a big favor by going wheat, and they really are not. One of the things you are getting is a little bit more fiber, so it's going to help bring down that glycemic index by a whole whopping 1 point. And so glycemic index of 74 here, but it also has gluten in it. Now, a lot of people have a gluten sensitivity, right? When we look at gluten, there's a lot of people who have celiac disease. This is a very harsh reaction. This is a very harsh reaction and immune condition that is linked to gluten. Now, the thing is that a lot of people think if they don't have celiac disease, they don't have a gluten problem. And that's not true. You can have a gluten sensitivity in which you still have a negative reaction to it. It robs you of your energy. You can't think clear. You don't feel well. It gives you an upset stomach. You still have a gluten sensitivity, but it's not celiac, which could literally send you, in a downward spiral and mess you up for a day or two. And so looking at gluten, it's something that really doesn't benefit anybody at this point. It's a protein in bread that many people are reacting very harshly to, and even those who aren't still are having some sort of very light, mild reaction. It also has phytic acid in it, which is considered an anti-nutrient. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention while we're here talking about glycemic index, okay, so we see brown rice has a glycemic index of 68 and wheat bread has one of 74. So generally the rice is coming in at a lower glycemic index. These glycemic index numbers actually came from Harvard. A lot of people ask me where I get these because they'll find different stats depending where they're coming from. These came from Harvard if you want to look them up. Now, when we look at brown rice versus wheat bread, the next question is which would I choose? If I was handed a bowl of brown rice and a plate of wheat bread, I would consume the brown rice. And here's the reason for that, okay? When we look at the wheat bread, it has gluten in it. There's a good chance that most people in general are going to have a reaction to the gluten, okay? So when you look at that, there's a good chance gluten's going to be an issue where, here we're dealing with the arsenic issue, but depending on how it's cooked, maybe it's not that much of an issue. And so I would go with the brown rice over the wheat bread just because I would want to avoid the gluten. Like I said, I think that not only myself, but many people out there have a mild gluten sensitivity, even if they're not having a harsh reaction. So I'm going to have the brown rice for the win, and the brown rice is going to have a little bit better nutritional quality here. No, I don't want the arsenic, but I told you I will give you my opinion. Even though I don't think either of these options are great, I'm giving you my opinion as to which I would choose, because everybody's really faced with that decision at some point in their life, right? You go to a friend's house, you go out to a restaurant, and maybe you're just kind of pinpointed down and you have to make a choice, and so that's how you make it. Next, we're going to talk about the best rice and the best bread, okay? So we talked about, all the negatives and the things you need to avoid. Let's talk about what is going to be healthy options of both of these. So best rice. So basmati or jasmine rice is generally considered to be a good, healthy option, okay? The other thing is that we want to make sure that we're choosing sprouted or germinated. And the reason for this is because when it is sprouted, it essentially makes the nutrients more bioactive. You're more able to digest it better. You're able to absorb the nutrients better. And also it reduces the phytic acid content, just like we're going to find in the bread. Okay, if we have sprouted, it reduces the phytic acid content. It's also best to choose organic whenever possible. And then the problem is we still have an arsenic issue. Even these better options still have arsenic in them. Now, the good news is these options are considered to have less arsenic, which is, a very good thing. Now, one of the things you can do, though, in order to actually reduce arsenic content is, first of all, you can wash the rice prior to actually cooking it. And the other thing that you can do is you can cook the rice in a big pot of water, almost like you would cook like a spaghetti or something like that. So instead of cooking your rice with very minimal water, cook it in a big pot of water so that you can actually boil that and get as much of the arsenic out of it as possible. Okay, so this is better options. And then, of course, I'll put resources in the description below so I can find some sort of example so that you can actually check it out and kind of understand what I'm talking about. So this is going to be the better option when it comes to rices. Now let's talk about the better option when it comes to breads. So Ezekiel is a good option. Okay, when we look at Ezekiel bread, this is an example of a sprouted whole grain bread that is going to have a lot of good different grains in it, okay? Because we didn't even get into GMO and spraying the wheat and glyphosate and all that stuff. We didn't go there. But when we look at Ezekiel bread, it's going to have some better grains in it. It's going to be sprouted, so it's going to have a decreased phytic acid content, easier to digest, nutrients are more bioavailable. So this is a better option for bread. Okay, there's probably other ones out there. Ezekiel is my example. Sourdough bread is also a better option. The reason sourdough bread is typically the better option is because it's fermented, so it's going to almost be like pre-digested. It's going to be easier for you to digest. It's going to have the nutrients that are going to be more bioactive, just like when we look at Ezekiel bread. So some consider sourdough bread to be one of the healthiest breads out there. We actually enjoy sourdough bread in our house as well. Now, we also want to choose organic whenever possible, and then gluten is, of course, an issue here, and gluten just doesn't go away. So when we look at both of these right here, which would I choose for the better option? If I was to have the bread handed to me, if I was to have the rice handed to me, at the end of the day, I would choose the rice. The reason for that is we're going to get some pretty good nutritional quality out of it. We're going to use methods that's going to reduce the arsenic in it. We're going to just have some good benefits coming from that rice, whereas when you look at the bread, you still have a problem with gluten. Okay, like I said, I think I have a mild gluten sensitivity. It's something that I need to just stay away from for the most part. So if I have to break it down, I have to make a choice. We're going to go with the rice over here as the better option. So be sure to put in the comment section below which one you choose. Put a non-bias as to what you would have chosen, but maybe after this video, what you would choose with this education. Put that in the comment section here below. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you have any questions, be sure to put it in the comment section. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. We do tons of great videos on nutrition, reversing health conditions, weight loss, fasting, apple cider vinegar, all the things you love. Also, hit that bell notification so you never miss another video, and check out these videos over here that are going to help you improve your health. I'll see you in the next video.